So, welcome to Leaders Exchange, and I would like to welcome my guest, Ian Smith. Thank you for being with us today, Ian.
Happy to join. I'm excited.
Excellent. So, let me tell you a bit about Ian. Ian is a business graduate from McMaster University. He started his career at Target in a leadership role as they launched in Canada. It was here where he discovered his passion for building successful teams, focusing on culture and operational excellence. After spending a few years in retail leadership, Ian transitioned into management consulting, working for a variety of different companies across industries, focusing on improving processes and improving their organizations. After this, Ian made his move as an entrepreneur, opening his own fitness studio in Toronto, Orange Theory. Ian, so tell me about how long have you been in business so far?
So, working in like my career business wise, 10 years. For my personal like entrepreneurship piece of it, I started about 2 years ago, and then the location I'm at right now, the Orange Theory one, we opened in June of 2019.
Excellent. And I remember when you opened, I was so excited. So I'm really happy that you're there. Um, Ian, if you think back, if you could go back to when you first started out, what advice would you give yourself?
I think so. The biggest one for me would be to like enjoy the ride and as well as like appreciate the process. And like what that means to me is for business in general has a lot of ups and downs. Entrepreneurship though, I think it's a whole nother ballgame when it comes to that. So you really have a roller coaster of emotions, and some days can feel like you're on cloud nine, you feel great and everything's going your way. And the next day it can feel the polar opposite to that. And I think it can take a like fairly large mental toll on people. So like if I was talking to a younger version of myself, it would be to appreciate like that roller coaster, appreciate the process and the learning that happens throughout that, because it just changes your mindset and how you work through some of those challenges when you have that bigger picture in mind and you realize the value of all those things that you built through.
Excellent. That's excellent advice. Thank you. So I'm assuming some of this will be related to my next question, because now we've had the pandemic and we're going through the pandemic, and it's been a really tough time for businesses. So, what have you learned as a business owner from the pandemic situation?
I mean, one of the biggest thing that has jumped out to me, and I think probably a lot of business owners would say the same, is just how important it is to be nimble and like be able to react quickly to change. So, I mean, in general, industries see change all the time, but no one's really experienced something like this in 100 years. Our industry and fitness particularly has been like hit pretty hard, and we're dealing with a bunch of different regulations, constant changing environment, the competitive landscape changing, and like you're seeing like monumental changes almost happen like overnight at times. So that's for sure been a big takeaway. Like we've had to explore our offering, like look at different options to give to our members and like how we do business entirely, at a pace that not many people are, I don't think, used to. So you're basically making these changes overnight. And you've seen the businesses that are able to still navigate through this and are still, surviving and trying to wait this pandemic out have been the ones that are reacting and looking at alternatives.
Yes, that is very true, because if you're not nimble, as you said, you're not going to survive, right?
Yeah.
So, what is the opportunity then that potentially pandemic has brought to your business?
For us specifically, it's fast tracked a few things that like Orange Theory and we were looking at as a brand in general. So like we've looked at now virtual online platforms at a much quicker pace than we would have before this. So that's been a big one. We've looked at now different even in studio concepts. So we offer and we're really happy with the product we offer, but it's a class driven full body workout. And now that's going to shift a bit based on some new regulations. So different offerings we've been able to explore, I think, a little quicker than we would have. The other big one, I mean, in entrepreneurship, one thing you don't always get a feedback loop. So you don't necessarily have a boss. You don't necessarily are getting to know what's going well, what's not going well. So like this has been an interesting And like it's been cool to see the impact that we have on people's lives, hearing it from like clients or members, as well as just the team here, like hearing when we're not part of them every single day, because this has obviously shifted a lot of our world. But hearing that feedback has been like a interesting like insight from the pandemic that's came from this. So those would be some of the main, like I'd say, opportunities, like positive things that have came out of this experience.
Well, I have to comment because I, for one, have to say what a positive impact Orange Theory has had on my life, particularly because of your team and your leadership with Orange Theory. So I thank you for that big time. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to chat with you, because you've done a remarkable job with your team and your business. So thank
I
you.
appreciate that. We miss you. With your back.
I'll be back soon. Um, so just shifting gears a little bit.
Yeah.
So what has been the most difficult decision for you now as a business owner?
So for, I mean, in general, in terms of, are you saying starting the business or just right now in this state?
So looking at the period of time that you've had this business, Orange Theory, what might have been the most difficult decision you've had to make, do you
Mm,
think?
okay. I mean, probably one of the biggest, and it was the most challenging one, would have been around, and it's the technical aspect of it, but was probably around location for us. And like that's something we did a lot of research into. It was a difficult business decision to make because of one, it's a very long term decision, like it's fairly permanent for it, and so a lot hinges on that, as well as like location, especially like we're in a very competitive market in Toronto, so where you are can be make or break depending on your business. And so that was probably one that we really had to study. We looked at a lot of analytics for the neighborhood and like the right community to be in. That was probably one of the biggest decisions I had to make for our business.
Well, I think you made a good decision. I like where you chose. Not
Very,
to be biased at all.
very convenient for you.
Yes. Okay, so now I'm thinking you have had a lot of experience. You've gone through a lot in a short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering, what advice would you give to other business owners?
I'd say, I mean, it's a piece of advice as well. It's always for me, it's keep it simple is one big thing. The things that I focus on are like people, process, and product, and like I try and just keep that top of mind all the time. What I mean by that is you have to have a product that like you believe in, you feel confident in, that you love yourself. I think that does a big portion of the job for you, and that's the thing that's going to motivate any entrepreneur day in day out. The next one is you need people and process to be able to bring that to life and how you deliver that to the world. So even the greatest products, if you don't have the right team and the right people and then the right processes to operationally make it all work, that it doesn't come together in the way that's going to be like compelling for the market, compelling for people. I don't think it would be successful long term. So those are the three things that like I focus on. That's kind of how I would simplify it in my mind. Make sure the process work. Make sure that people are engaged, that they understand the vision, and make sure you feel good yourself with that product or service that you're offering.
That's excellent. It sounds like you really know your stuff. That's really, and that's demonstrated by your success. So that's good.
Thank you.
Um, so I have a question for you. Drawing on your knowledge and your experience as a business owner in the fitness industry, what would you advice would you give to people to stay healthy?
Good question. You're going to notice the theme with me is I like to keep things simple though.
Yes.
So the big one with that too, and I mean, people I think look a lot of times for like, creative, new, I want to do the next newest thing in terms of like, which is going to fix me and like instant gratification. It's honestly like move. Our bodies are designed to move and like sweat and work out. A lot of our lifestyle right now does not always make that easy. So it's making a conscious effort to move is one big one. And then sleep and nutrition. Like they're three very simple things. Just getting enough like hours of sleep every night so your body can adequately recover, and then you fueling it with the right fuel, so like healthy whole foods. Those three things, moving a little bit every day, getting that right sleep, and then making sure you're fueling your body correctly, I think that's going to do 99% of the work.
I remember one very good piece of advice that you gave to me is that when I first started working out and I wanted to like go all out, and you're like, Rhonda, do what is sustainable, do
Yeah,
it in increments, start small and build up slowly. And that really worked for me because I started at 2 days a week and now I can work out 6 days a week. So, but that took a while. It didn't happen overnight. And I kept wanting to jump, and you like, hang on, take it one step at a time, right?
yeah, that's like, and honestly, that's I think awesome advice for most people, and people do that in all elements of life. Is I think a lot of time people want to replace consistency with intensity, thinking that I'm going to get these amazing results if I just do, five super hard and the most grueling workouts, or I eat flawlessly for 1 week, or I do this, it's going to change my life. But it really is, what can you do consistently over time that's going to have a balanced effect for you. So yeah,
Exactly. And I like that you took like the whole picture when you talked about healthiness, because you talked about sleep and you talked about nutrition, right? Because all that helps us with our fitness, both physically and mentally, right? So thank you for that. Um, is there something that I could have asked you or should have asked you that you wish I would have in this interview that you would like to share with us?
well, for me, so when it comes to leadership, like the thing I'm most passionate about, and I like talking about, and I could probably spend way too many hours and spend a whole afternoon discussing with people, is about like culture and how important it is to build a strong culture with a team, and like what are some of the key elements of how that's done. Um, so like that's something I always like getting asked about. And for me, the answer is always like it starts with communication. So like I think it sometimes goes unnoticed how much of an impact it has when people just know, hey, what the vision is, what their specific role like ties into that vision, and how important, like underestimating the why. Like people love to know why they're doing stuff, right? Why, like how does this impact our community? How does it impact the business? How does it help us reach our goals? At the end of the day, people want to feel like they're winning. And I think, communicating that to them is what you get buy-in from your team. And then knowing where they stand. Like people love feedback, whether it's good or it's constructive, but all those things, I think, in constant communication is what sets the foundation for really good culture. So that would be something.
That's awesome. That's really good advice. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And that's it for us today. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today and sharing your knowledge with everybody. I'm sure we've learned a lot from what you've said, and I hope you have a fabulous day.
Thank you. It's so nice seeing you. I miss you.
I miss you too. Thanks.
Take care.